All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Kind of back. Thanks for coming in and with us one more time. I think it's 12 o'clock. I don't know. Is 12 o'clock yet?
Uh,
Um,
11:59.
11:59. So we're a little early. We'll give people some time to kind of get on in here. Let's see. Back this up a little bit. All right. Hold on. I don't see anyone saying anything yet, so we'll kind of give it a second. Trying to get myself together over here, as you know, it's like a constant job. It is a constant job. All right. Okay. Let's see what we got going on here today. Oh yeah. All right. Let's put that back there. That's this over here. Okay. All right. Well, we'll start off by saying that thank you for joining us last week. Much appreciated. I hope you found that it's some valuable content. We're gonna try to keep coming back every week with some valuable content. And keep in mind, I'm not, a doctor. I'm not any sort of medical professional. Come in here and I research things and I talk about things that I don't think is really much, there's very much content about on the internet, and I think that people have questions about, like when we were still, meeting people and out and about and doing face-to-face events, people had a lot of questions, a lot of questions that they feel like they weren't being answered. So this Hemp Fact Friday, that's kind of an answer to that. And we're going to have some other series coming up soon to kind of show you some other ways to kind of look at hemp and hemp oil, CBD, and since I say those things are somewhat interchangeable, not quite all the same thing, but kind of all connected to one another. So I figure we talk about anxiety today, and anxiety is kind of a big issue in today's world, even before all this coronavirus stuff. But right now, I feel like we're sitting. Everybody's sort of sitting on edge a little bit. I talked to some of my family and friends and peers, and everybody's kind of like a little tense, kind of wondering what's going to happen next. Is our world changing? And that's all, considering what's happening, that's all very valid. So I figured out with no time like the present to kind of bring up something that we're all somewhat feeling anyway, whether we want to call it anxiety or not, but it is. Like, we're all rather anxious. And by definition, I got a brief definition, anxiety is an intense and persistent worry about everyday situations. And it's a pretty fair a description of what we got going on right now. I think we're all worried about our everyday situation. And sometimes that worry can be accompanied by rapid breathing, that can be accompanied by rapid heart rate, pacing, panting, talking, kind of fast and excited, sweating. Sometimes even to the point that that this gets you so ramped up, and because it kind of plays on your physical, it plays on your emotional, and sometimes it gets people just very tired. Like, it wears you out, and that's that. Whether you believe that anxiety is real or not, and I know there are people out there who are like, this is all hokey. It's not all hokey. This is real. It's real for a lot of people. It may not be real for you, and thank goodness. And it's not. We all, a level of it. But when we're talking about some people who cannot catch calm or find their center in very, very normal situations. And this is not anything new. I think what we're talking about, it's almost like things kind of keep coming back because, we'll kind of go back in time and talk a little bit about the history of anxiety and where I think the Greeks invented the word hysteria. And unfortunately for the word hysteria, that word has been tied to our female companions for quite too long. And it's the theories back then in ancient Greece, whereas the evil spirits were sort of coming through and making women irrational. Something was kind of going through the body and blocking passages, and obstructing breathing and making women irrational, and this is like, it's crazy. I know right now it sounds crazy, I know. But this is what we thought. And like, it's funny that even today, like sometimes like we will, as you look at like certain sitcoms and they'll allude to these things. Well, she's just, being hysterical or what have you. And again, like keeping this tie, to our wives and women and such, like it kind of goes on through the early part of the Renaissance and, witch theories and things like that. And if people had premonitions and they happen to come true because they're worried about the future, and then, the next thing you know, like you're being burned at the stake or executed or something like that. And people will think, oh my God, like what's happening? This is crazy. And all this is just like anxiety. Like people always, like it's probably been a part of who we are, from the beginning. People have worries, and there was a point where, people were taking their mothers and wives to insane asylums and getting things like electrolysis and a shock therapy and lobotomies and things like that. Like, gee, it seems very excessive, And there is even a theory. There's even a theory that the vibrator was created for this very thing. So it's weird how like this whole thing has been tied to a lot of things have been tied to this for a long time. And then now, forward in history a little bit, we talk about men and soldiers coming back home from battle. Obviously, women have not been allowed to fight next to us until more recently. So like going back to the Civil War, they're coming home. They have what we call today PTSD. Then there knows what they called it. So, crazy soldier syndrome or something. I don't know. But they start giving them opium. Kind of sounds familiar, huh? Yeah. Like I said, it all kind of comes back in circle. Like these things just keep coming back and keep coming back. And Russians start sterilizing, what they call their, psychos, and because they like now, they don't want things to be transferable to children and older people. Like it's nuts, it's crazy. So, and now, so we move a little bit forward and we get to modern medicine. And probably in the 50s, people started recognizing, anxiety and maybe and even recognizing it to be like a social disorder, not just some sort of phobia or something like that, but people being people being associated with different behavior when they're in social settings, and that probably like the birth of what we have now, which is almost like a culture of numbing people, or with either the pills, or there's a name for them. I don't know what they call it. They're muscle relaxers, So and as we've all seen, we used to make jokes when we were young, or we see these in movies where grandma took too many Valiums, or something like that. The whole Marilyn Monroe thing, and even like as we got into the 60s, I think that really kind of became the go-to treatment for anxiety, and especially social anxiety, even though like very public figures were having bouts with it on stage. I think Barbra Streisand, she was performing once in New York in a public place and froze up. She could not remember the words to her songs, and she attributed that to anxiety. I think Donny Osmond had a similar incident sometime, I think in the 70s or 80s, rather, or 80s, 90s. And he attributed that to anxiety as well. So yeah, just keep on like moving forward. Let's kind of talk about, as we gave a little bit of background and kind of where we are now. Well, let's get to where we are now. So going back to almost like to the Civil War, like now, in the 90s, it became sort of fashionable again to start giving people opiates, and then what some people call anxiolytics. So anxiolytics are pharmaceutically crafted medicines that were used to treat anxiety, and we're sort of back. Like that's kind of like the big thing now. Ever since was like Prozac and all these other things kind of came in. I don't know if Prozac is anxiety medicine. I don't know, but all these medicines start coming in the 90s. Where like, oh, people are tense, they're feeling anxious. You should take this, and you'll feel better. Like you'll feel happier. You'll feel more content. You'll feel less stressed. And I think all of us, most people, are in pursuit of those things. They want to feel less stressed. They want to feel more content. They want to feel happier. If you look at most people's bad behavior, like that's really what they're trying to achieve. So it's kind of this thing in all of us. And so, like, what do we do? Like, I can't believe that, like, going the direction of, addictive drugs is the way to happiness. I don't believe that. So, and in like today's world, like in I think 2017, the World Health Organization suggested that like 264 million people worldwide are living with some form of anxiety. And what does that mean? It's like they say there's 5 types of anxiety. I think general, social, obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, what we call post-traumatic stress disorder and panic disorder, and then along those lines, there's like social other phobias as well. Like I guess some people are allergic to allergic. Some people are deathly afraid of spiders. Like I've kind of dealt with that phobia myself in my life. I was deathly afraid of spiders, like almost to the point of being frozen if I even thought that a spider was in the same room with me. In the last 10 years, I don't know, you change the way you look at things, you change your life in a way, and kind of changed the way I looked at that, and I'm touching my face. Oh my God, you can't do that. Not making jokes about this thing, but you can't help it. You touch your face 1,000 times a day, apparently. Oh, thanks. Oh, hey, Heather. Heather's watching. I'm somehow like talking my life away. Thank you, Heather, for joining in today. Who else is here today? Amy, thank you. Oh, Mom. Mom, I love you. Thank you. If your mom doesn't support you, then God knows who will, right? She's just and the other Linda's watching too. The 2 Lindas are here today. Love the Lindas today. So in these sometimes like in these phobia situations, like it's the worst. It's to be afraid of water, even though you get in water every day, but like to be submerged in water is like probably a totally different thing for a lot of people. If you can't swim, then I could only imagine what it must feel like to be dropped or suddenly submerged in water. But I've gone with the types of anxiety, but let's talk about some of these medicines that now has become like the new way, and talk about like what people call benzos. I can't even say this stuff, like benzodiazepines, hydroxyzines. I don't know. It's like I wouldn't even want to take any of this stuff. Like, why would you even want to take this crap? Like I said, I'm not here to bash any of these. I understand people have to take them, but when I hear it or I try to read them, they sound frightening to me. But we kind of know them as stuff like benzos, Xanax, Klonopins, and things. And if you've been paying attention for the last 20 years, people have gotten way derailed, and I think we probably all know someone personal to us that may be suffering from some sort of addiction because they're trying to find some happiness or equilibrium in their life. And I just don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. And then there's other options, whether it is yoga, whether it is, some people, exercise works for them. It kind of distracts their mind, or the exertion of their body sort of gives them some sort of relief. That was that way for me, until it wasn't. That's just getting old. It's not I didn't like the exercise. Like the exercise didn't like me. You know what I mean? So, some of these medicines that we're taking now, and I think I said I gotta believe that every single one of us knows someone who's taking something, whether it's natural, unnatural, what have you, to solve something, to cure some sort of or give some sort of inner peace. What we're seeing is like sedation, confusion, like the side effects is what we're talking about right now. Headaches, God forbid, suicidal thoughts. You're trying to find peace. Suicidal thoughts is not peace. It's the exact opposite of peace. Elevated blood pressure, dry mouth, constipation, diarrhea. I think about having even 2 of these things at the same time, and it's like the opposite of exactly what I'm trying to achieve. Like I'm not getting inner peace, I'm getting like inner hell. And so it's like withdrawal, like addiction. Like nobody wants this stuff, Nobody wants to be chained, to something else for the rest of their life. So this is partly, it's not our mission really. It is never our mission to try to help people, with anxiety or help people get off of some, some of these, psychoactive drugs. That is not it. But we do believe in a plant, and we do believe in the power of cannabinoids and the synergy between cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids. All of these come from plants. Unfortunately, CBD only comes from two sources. It comes from marijuana plants, which is sativa plants, and it comes from hemp plants. So if that's an issue for you, then I guess that's something that you're going to have to get beyond, because it doesn't come from too many other places. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, guess in the store it comes in little bottles now, but right. So CBD, like I said, is a component of the hemp plant, and it's very prevalent there. We believe that, like I said, in the power of this plant and the healing power of plants. We might not all want to admit that, especially at the dinner table when you have to choose between spinach and steak, but the plants are definitely the healers. Yes. So, and I can't look at this list of things and say that hemp oil or any hemp oil derivatives, isolate, is going to give you confusion or sedation or abnormal heart rate or some sort of dependence issue or suicidal thoughts. My God, suicidal thoughts. Okay. You might get a little dry mouth maybe every now and then. You might get that. You might get some drowsiness, but most people tell me that, they're getting great sleep when they take hemp oil. And I think there's a relationship between that and anxiety, that we bring that up. Now, I think they said, well, how does this stuff do? Is this a miracle product? It's not a miracle product. It's just like, certain plants do certain things. Certain plants help you, in certain ways. Like you said, back to spinach. You spinach, you get the iron, You may not get the Popeye effect, but you will get a heavier dose of iron. But with this hemp, you get this heavy dose of CBD, and what is happening is that it is actually helping you boost your immune system. It is helping that. It helps people get good night's sleep, and that relationship is usually people aren't sleeping because of three things, and that is usually because you're in pain, you're inflamed, and sometimes you're inflamed for numerous different reasons, probably because of things we're eating, drinking, what have you. And our life practices. But if you're inflamed, 9 times 10, you're in pain. That's kind of the way that works. That's a relationship. And I think all of us in the 2020s now, there's so many things to worry about, and there's so many things coming at you all the freaking time, with just the phone alone. But you got the phone, you got the computer, the job, if you're into social media, that's a whole another thing on its own. If you're like playing video games, like you see people like getting so stressed out, what I mean? Video games are throwing stuff at the TV, like breaking up their own stuff, Not that I haven't broken up my own stuff before, but yes, but we're stressed, and that's kind of what we're getting at. And I think we don't want something that's going to limit us. I don't think anyone's trying or life's goal is to be limited or to be chained to something for the rest of their life. No, I don't think that's it. I think you want some relief. And I think there's other ways to find the stress relief than some of these, anxiolytics, pharmaceutical, what have you got going on over here. I do suggest that if you do decide to go the CBD route, always, do like 3 things. You talk to your doctor. You obviously do your own research. You do your own research again. And if you're going to talk to your doctor and you do your research, make sure you're researching things that are not just like cannabis, like general cannabis, knowledge. You usually like say CBD specific or hemp oil specific, because THC brings a whole nother layer into this. So, if you don't need that, if that's not something that you think that's gonna cure or heal you or connect you in whatever way that you're trying to be, then that's not the way you have to go. There's other options, and a lot of people I think want to live, healthy, productive lives and want to go out. They don't want to feel like, some people can use THC and not, feel like they're impaired at all. But most people, I think it doesn't work for them like that. So this is a whole nother option. And if you don't know this, you do have an endocannabinoid system. Your body makes cannabinoids itself. Cannabinoids, cannabinoids, however you want to say it, tomato, But you feed that. And the only way to feed that is through phytocannabinoids, cannabinoids that come through plants. And that's kind of what we're promoting here, and we're trying to educate people. Basically, there has been studies that have shown, and I'm going to read off a couple of these studies if you don't mind. 2010, I don't think this came from the Medical News Today. Okay, 2010, a small 2010 study found that cannabidiol, which is the name for CBD, we call it CBD, just keep it brief. So moving forward, that's what we're going to do. Can reduce symptoms of social anxiety in people with social anxiety disorder, SAD. Brain scans of participants revealed changes in blood flow to the regions of the brain to the feelings of anxiety. In the study, CBD not only made participants feel better, but also changed the way their brains responded to anxiety. Okay? Changed the way their brains responded to anxiety. I'm not making this stuff up. It's here. You want to go on medicalnewstoday.com, you can see this stuff yourself. I'm not making this up at all. 2011 study found that CBD can reduce social anxiety. For that study, researchers looked specifically at CBD to treat anxiety associated with public speaking. Public speaking really, really shakes people out of things. There is a scale of like the things that trigger anxiety in people, and I think public speaking is number one on that list by a long shot. So I can understand that study. A research published in 2014 found, this research done on animals, however, I found that CBD had anti-anxiety and antidepressant effects. I'm from a pause here for a second. If you are taking antidepressants, I don't know what antidepressants cost. I don't take pharmaceutical medicines unless I'm on death's doorstep and I'm like needing some sort of antibiotics or something. But it's just not something I believe in. So I'm not knocking anyone else's belief system. But if you are and you're on antidepressant medicine, I can't imagine what that costs you every month. I mean, if you're paying more than $100 and some change every month for your medicines, and you can get something that's not harming you. Whether you get it from Cherry Blossom CBD or any other CBD company, I highly suggest doing that. At least trying it, to save you money and save you all the expense of having to get other medicines because you're like having all these other crazy side effects. I mean, what do you have to lose, right? So back to this. 2015, an analysis of previous studies concluded that CBD oil is a promising treatment for numerous forms of anxiety, including social anxiety, panic disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So that, again, looping back, that's the top 5 that we talked about. Those are 5 types of anxiety. And CBD oil can help with those things. The 2016 case study explored whether CBD could reduce symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety-provoked sleep disorder in a child with history of trauma. And researchers found that CBD reduced the child's anxiety and helped that child sleep better. So, safe for children. Amy has a question. Are you following the CBD project and the work that they're doing? I have tapped into that, but I have not yet said I follow them religiously. Can you speak about them? Not today, I won't. But I will do some research this week. We'll come back, we'll talk about Project CBD. We've actually done some research on their site, but I'm not versed enough in what they're doing that I can sit here and talk about that. But we'll research that and we'll bring that back. So I don't know. Does anyone else have any questions? We can run down some other stuff, some other facts and history about anxiety and what people are doing. But if you got any questions, shoot them on in. I'm going to keep running my mouth for a few more minutes. I don't know where we are time-wise, but we'll keep on going. We touched on that already. Let's talk about some of the authors of a review from neuropathics.com found that CBD may help reduce anxiety in people, again, with the 5 general anxiety categories. Let's see what we got going there. So let's say, and yeah, I think I missed something. I did miss something today, didn't I? So you want to treat yourself, or you want to use CBD as a treatment for how long does it want it for anxiety? And we'll give you a couple ways to do it. And I suggest either herbal remedies, which is CBD, CBD in the form of vaping. I would say tincture. Tincture can come in the form of sprays. They can come in the form of drops, of sublinguals. But vaping and smoking really helps. I think vaping, they say, it just gets a lot of bad press in the last 6 months. But if you are suffering from anxiety and you are in a social situation, I think the fastest way you probably get some relief, other than like an inhaler, is probably vaping. And there are studies to show that. We'll give you our sources when we get done with this today. But I think, and now I know smokable hemp is kind of, in some states are kind of pushing it, and some states are kind of like, there's no way. But we've tried it. I mean, I was hesitant myself. I was not a believer, but we tried the smokable hemp, and we found that, wow, it actually does work. Some of the reasons I use it is before and after my workout. So I tried it both before and after. I did feel the difference in the way that my body felt. I get a little stiff. I'm older now. My body just hurts. What are you going to do? You got to do something. Yeah. So, Kathleen, how long does it take to feel a difference? To feel a difference, I think what you're asking me is how long does it take for the effects of the CBD to come in? And that kind of depends on which way you're taking it. So there's only 3 ways to take CBD, which is sublingual, oral, which I think counts as vaping, and topical. Topical will take the longest, it absorbs into the skin, like 30 to 45 minutes, even like an edible, it'll take like 45 minutes, probably the longest. I think I felt it's probably as early as 20 minutes. Thank you for the question. I think we touched on some of the things. Yes, if you are going to look for that, but there were other natural remedies for anxiety other than cannabinoids. Passion flower is one. St. John's wort, and you can if you're making your own concoctions at home, some of these things you can consider. Ginkgo biloba, ashwagandha. I have no idea what ashwagandha is, but I've seen this getting a lot of press in some of the health and fitness circles. So I'll maybe research that a little bit. Valerian root, theanine, which is you found that in green tea, chamomile, and lemon balm. Some other things that can help you if you're suffering from anxiety or not quite ready to take the CBD step, which I understand. A lot of people for a lot of reasons. We sell full spectrum products, so we do feel if you're going to take some sort of oral or sublingual application, full spectrum is the way to go because all the cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids are represented, not just a single isolated compound. Edible CBD, again, we recommend a full spectrum. If you get a gummy or if you're making your own, you can mix it into an oil or a butter. And down the road, when we talk about oils and butters, we're going to talk about some of that. We're going to show you how to make certain things you can do at home. So you can make your own or infuse your own CBD oil or butter. You can put on your food. You can get creative with that. So we're going to start doing some of that coming down the road. There are a lot of people take like gummies in the morning and in the afternoon, or maybe morning and in the evening. So you maybe like 1 or 2 in the morning. Depending on what you're trying to achieve, whether it's pain, anxiety, what have you, and then maybe 1 or 2 in the evening. And the 1 or 2 in the evening, really before dinner helps. Before dinner, and then all this stuff is fat soluble. So you eat, you get the fat going in there. It kind of like pushes it through your system, and then next thing you know, you're sleeping like a baby. And there are some sort of like sprays and stuff like that, like when you talk about tincture, other than sublingual type of tinctures, but they're sprays. It's still a tincture in its truest form. It's usually alcohol extraction, hemp alcohol extraction mixed with other things. So, and those sprays can be either with oral or like you use that as a sublingual as well. So, that's pretty much it for us today. Next week, we're going to talk about arthritis and hemp. Our sources, hempline.com, Very Well Minded, the Care Clinic out in LA. We researched them, Depression Alliance, beyondblue.com, and the Clearview Treatment Center. So we looked all those up. We're not here trying to steal anyone else's information or take credit for anyone else has published. We're just doing research and sharing it with the people. So if you guys have any questions for me or for us, please send your questions in. You can do a website submission or email us at info@cherryblossompcbd.com. As always, like, subscribe, follow, and share. We are on just about, the major social media outlets. Of course, we're on Facebook, as you're seeing us right now, Instagram, and with the camera, what's it called? YouTube. My God, I forget that every week. YouTube. Every single week I forget it. So we are at Cherry Blossom CBD on those mediums, and then on Twitter we are at cherry_CBD. Again, like, subscribe, follow, and share. If you have any questions, send them here. Send them to any of those sources. There's always somebody waiting to answer. Maybe not as fast as you like, but we're on it. So again, thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time. I know it's Friday afternoon, and we're all doing something, but thank you for taking the time to spend with us today. All right, we'll see you next week. We'll talk about some arthritis. Oh, Todd, my man Todd. Todd and Savalas. That was my first best friend, guys. So I'm talking about. Man, if your friends and family don't support you, then who the heck will, right? So